chat popping. This is amazing. Really glad to have you here. Um, all right, so we've kind of thrown it all out there, but this is the first time that we're trying Nine Dots Backstage. It's a new format. The goal is really to just be transparent. I know I've been repeating that a lot, but what I mean by that is it's very difficult to understand the reality of game developers unless you are a game developer. It's really hard. It's even harder to understand publishers because, well, there are even fewer of them, and it feels like their knowledge is a bit eldritch, and their decisions can be very difficult to understand. And now that we are becoming a publisher ourselves, I thought like might as well just be very upfront about our decisions, what it is that we are doing, why we are doing that, why is it a good idea, why could it not be a good idea? What is the problem that we are trying to solve by becoming a publisher? Also, I'm very sorry right now. The contrast for the lighting is not ideal. I'm just gonna try and recalibrate just with my hand. All right, that seems a little bit better. Now you can see me. Sound is a bit low. Thank you for telling me that. Let me look into if I can fix that. If I keep my mic closer, is that better? Raise your volume, Guy. Okay, I'm on it. Give me a moment. We fear that might be a problem. We're gonna need a new mic. If I do like that, is this slightly better? Still low? God damn it. Hmm. I'm really at the maximum I can be right now, so we'll have to bear with that, I'm afraid. Better now? Okay, good. Good. Okay. So yeah, we wanted to be super forward with what we are doing. But first, I would like to start off with something really cool that happened. Um, Back during the 10th anniversary of God Factory, we made a big discount and we invited two people to come over. And some of the old gang from like 10 years ago kind of came together, and there was also a bunch of new players that came and started playing and discovering the game. They even made a tournament. And then a very special project that was a mod to make God Factory more accessible because as a designer, I'm an asshole. I'm super cruel to new players, and they figured that if God Factory was a bit easier on beginners, it would make it more palatable. And so Eco and Null brought back a project they had started 7 years ago, and they completed Mod Factory. Um, I just wanted to start with a big highlight and say thank you guys for making this and for bringing back like this old project. And to celebrate this, we decided to put the game on discount again to 50%. So if you've never played God Factory and just a little bit curious, it does help. You're supporting us if you buy it, and yeah, it all the features that might make it hard to get started they're kind of solved by that mod. So you go ahead and try that if you want. So once again, thank you very much for everyone. Like I think last time I had checked, we had maybe $700 on account at Steam. I didn't even bother to cash them in because of the taxes and everything. But since we've made that discount, we've got like a $20,000 in revenue. It's not like we're not insanely profitable all of a sudden, but it's just a really really nice uptick to a game that has been like asleep for a while. And once again, that's what I meant by being super transparent, like raw numbers and stuff like that. I know that some people just really care about the games, but I kind of want to share the business element and to help you just understand where we are coming from. Um, and I guess before we start, use money to repair the windows. Not a bad idea. Sadly, it is not our building. If we ever end up buying the neighbors, we'll fix that window for sure. Um, and so yeah, before I start talking more about the three games that we have right now um, in the pipeline, I wanted to talk about why is it that we are becoming a publisher to start with? Because We see a lot of indie developers who got a big success starting and like just deciding they just want to spread the money around, and I guess in many cases try to be a better publisher than what they had themselves. And we definitely fit in that category where we will attempt to bring our knowledge of the realities of being a game developer to how we do business. But it's not only that. At Nine Dots, I we have this recipe, the things that we want to do. But it wasn't necessarily all that clear. It was kind of a intuition, a style, but we needed to kind of understand who we are and what makes a Nine Dots game a Nine Dots game. And we came up with something called the Nine Dots signature. I'm gonna show you a little document that we have internally. Um, Here, I'm gonna show you. Won't be too long. Okay. Once again, like I said, it's not gonna be super high production value way of showing things, but it's a little document that we use both internally and to communicate with other studios what it is exactly that we are looking for. Let me start sharing my screen. There we go. You guys can see, I think. There we go. So what is a nine dots game? We've identified 7 design pillars that we want to observe in any of our game. First one, provide ways for players to express themselves as they play. If we look at brand, you express yourself with the type of sword that you make. It's very simple, simplistic even, but there's that. In God Factory, it's how you build your ships, what kind of strategy you're gonna make, the color of your ships, and all that. So you decide like how do you collaborate with your friends? How do you take down the enemy ship? How do you build your ship? How does it look? A lot of ways to express yourself. Once again, in Outward, well, it's how you play your character, what kind of gear you're using, what is going to be your play style, and make sure that there's a lot of very valid ways of playing it out. We even came up with those little questions here that help decide, okay, is that actually valid ways to meaningful ways to express yourself? Um, if anyone talks about what they see in this stream online, you'll be breaking NDA. Yeah, no. Actually, like the more you talk about what it is that we're doing, the more you are helping. Um, and it's one thing that I've been wondering, like, how can we make sure that players understand what is our brand? And usually, it's very much like show, don't tell. But why? Why not just tell you plainly who we are, what matters for us? Now, next step, grant players a reasonable amount of autonomy. So this is a huge pet peeve of mine in gaming in general. It's just that we hold hands way too much. We try to control players. We try to decide for them what the experience should be like. I hate that. I hate that. I'm very experienced as a player, and I don't want to have to relearn even basic mechanics all the time. And back in the days, the games were a lot simpler, but it also meant that you could figure it out by yourself. As we grew older, like a lot of our players are 30 years old and up. We're old, and we've been doing this for a while. We don't need to relearn everything, and there's already a lot of games by by default, by being mainstream, are trying to kind of appeal to everyone. Um, we are only trying to appeal to very experienced players. We don't need to tell them all the time what to do. We just grant them the autonomy. Third one, depth, complexity. Um, I like to keep playing a game in my head once I shut it down. So when I click on exit game and I go to bed, I want the game that I'm playing to keep rolling in my head and thinking of systems, thinking of features, trying to understand what it is that I did wrong, what it is I could do better, what are my options. I just wish Outward had a tutorial. It does. It's on the main menu, and it's very explicit. Um, then challenging the player. A lot of games got the complexity, but they don't challenge you enough to make use of the knowledge of how it works. One of my favorite games of all time is Final Fantasy VII, and it has a super rich system with the material where you can do very cool combinations and stuff like that. You can have like a spell that when you use it, it also attacks and steal and you can counter when you're being attacked with doing a steal or a lot of different complex options where you customize every spell, every ability. But really, you just need attack and cure, and you can complete the whole game. And that is a loss, an opportunity that is wasted. So we're trying to do complexity, but in a way where if you understand the game, then you're good enough to move forward. If you don't understand the systems, then you should not be able to progress. Outward 2 preview. Yes, there will be some Outward 2, but uh, first, trying to just lay out a little bit of information about what about Outward 3. Uh, yeah, maybe Outward 3 when? In a long time, in a very long time. Then reward exploration. Um, And when we say that, a lot of people will understand, of course, very intuitively. Okay, when I walk around in a level, I want to be able to find cool stuff. But rewarding exploration can also be in the game systems themselves. One very good example, well, good or not, depending on where you stand, is the enchanting system in Outward One, where you really need to check out how things work to find out what's what. And it can also be what happens if I combine this ability and this sigil. Does it do something special? Like Flintstone Steel and in Fire Sigil, and now we got a circle of fire around you. That is part of the exploration of just trying a few things and see what sticks, what works. And those five pillars, expressing yourself, autonomy, complexity, challenging the player, reward exploration, they all really merge together super well. But then we add it's kind of the meat of what we do of the meal, and then we've got the spice. Um, Number six is super important to me. Like having music that leaves an impression. I I hope that you will agree with me, but like every soundtrack from a Nine Dots game is a banger, and it's not accidental. It's super important to me, and I feel like games in general nowadays, the soundtrack is kind of lame. It's more atmospheric, it's ambient, it has no soul, it's just technical. It's a feature, sure, but it doesn't do much for emotional resonance. And you will be interested initially by a game by its core concept and its graphics. You will keep playing a game for its gameplay, for its story, but you remember a game for its music and for its ambiance, its atmosphere. And I think that if we want a long-term appeal to our brand, we need to have extremely good music all the time, to the point where music itself could be an argument for why you'd buy a game. Oh, it's going to be a good soundtrack, it's worth buying, is the kind of mentality I would like to see our audience have. And then number seven, gaming aimed at adult players. So as the budgets have bloated over and over again, now when you make a game, you need to make a game for everyone, or else you're going to go bankrupt. But not if you keep your budgets contained. And I'd rather have myself as a player, I'd rather have a lower budget game that is made specifically for me than a high budget game for which I'm just collateral audience. And so we are really just targeting the 30 years old and up super experienced gamer. And we're trying to see that also in the themes, in the art style. So we're not going to make like there's nothing wrong with a game that looks like cartoony or for kids and stuff like that. It's great, and I know many adults who love Zelda. Nothing wrong with that. But if we want to set a clear message of what kind of games that we make, we're trying to be more coherent in that aspect and do games that feel more, you know, adult oriented, not in the pornographic sense. Um, so there you have it. Those are the 7 game design pillars that that we want to observe in any game that we make, but also any game that we publish. And it's kind of a, I don't like using the word promise, but it is definitely our intent to deliver on that over and over and over again so that you guys know what to expect, and that way we can get more creative. We can make games eventually that, if you trust us, if you like those aspects being delivered to you over and over again, then maybe eventually we can make a game that is very different, but it will still be attractive because it has those qualities that you are looking for in any other game. If the 9 dot seal of approval is enough to convince you of what a game will contain as qualities, then you might be interested in trying things that would be outside of your normal interests. More naked women pillars, please. Yeah, I feel like that one is on me for just even mentioning the word adult. On a 30, I want to play. That's great. And that's something that I find really interesting. By making games for people who are older, if you're younger than the target, you just feel like, oh, I like games that are for older people than me. Makes me feel more mature. But when you're 30 years old and you play a game that is made for a, an audience of like 15 to 18 years old, you're not as proud about that. Not that you should be ashamed, but uh, it just feels better to be playing something for an older audience than you are. Just like when you're 12 years old and you're reading uh, classical books and stuff like that, that for which you're not the target audience, you can feel a bit smug about it, and that's just fine. I hear Natasha laughing right next to me because she might recognize herself in that regard. All right. So now I would like to move on to the next game. We're gonna talk about Witherbloom, but for once, it's not just gonna be me talking. I'm gonna invite Mitch over, uh, Mitchell, who's the founder of Ever Curious, and he's gonna be joining us and talking about Witherbloom. Give me a moment to set up my things. I'm gonna start the call with him. And by the way, this is way more complicated than it looks. I got like so many different buttons to click right now. You have no idea. Hoping that he's gonna join quickly. All right. Mitch, they can't hear you yet. I'm gonna switch you in not too long. Okay, let me try this. We can see you, and now I'm gonna zoom in on you. There.
Oh boy.
This is Mitch.
Hello.
All right. Um, can everyone hear him well? You can say hi, Mitch.
Hey, can everybody hear me?
Stranger danger.
Hope so.
And yes,
Stranger
Lord.
danger. Oh boy.
All right. So fun story. I met Mitch at Gamescom, even though like he was still based in Montreal at the time, I think, right?
Yep.
Uh,
Nope. No, actually, by then I was already in Vienna.
oh, okay, my bad. But yeah, he was a developer in Montreal while I was in Quebec, and we had never met before. And then we ended up meeting for the first time in Germany. And one thing that became extremely clear was how uncanny it is that we just think alike all the fucking time. And at first, you were pitching a great game that I know is still under NDA. I'm not going to say more, but a really amazing game that was just a little bit too ambitious for what 9 dots could help with at the time. And but I really wanted to work with you guys. Um, but before I go in all that, why don't you tell us a bit more about Ever Curious. Like, why did you start that studio? What it is that you stand for, in your own word, and it's okay if you just need to say for a while, because like I said, we're going to keep it raw and organic. And while you do
Yep.
that, I'm gonna do something that you find quite nice. I'm gonna drink a whiskey.
Oh, what? Now you're taunting me. I don't have a whiskey.
Ah,
Shit.
should have thought of that.
Damn it. Now I'm gonna have to run and get one at some key point here. That was also something that we very early discovered was that we both love a good whiskey. So
It,
it's
it was
very
at
fitting.
it was at the very end of our first meeting. Like, oh, well, do you like whiskey? And I just started laughing.
Yeah, I think that was the point where Natasha almost physically started dragging you away from me. Oh yes, thank you. Haha, magic whiskey appears.
Let's fucking go. What is your go-to
Mm-mm.
whiskey? What are my go-to whiskeys? Plural.
Yeah,
Aberfeldy is a very good, cheap, affordable, but good quality Scotch whiskey. Um, if not, Glenmorangie in general are really in my top. Um, you got Glenmorangie as well. There we go. Is it the Quinta Ruben? Is it
sorry,
the
what's that?
is it the Quinta Ruben?
No, this is a port cask finished. Oh no, this is a Quinta Ruben.
Yeah, it's the
Shit,
best
you're right.
one.
Yeah.
It's an amazing whiskey, the Quinta Ruben. It's my go-to these days. Then there's
Mm.
a Lagavulin 16, and yeah, there's a bunch. But yeah, okay.
I love
I don't want to
Lagavulin.
steal the show. You go ahead. Tell us about Ever Curious.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I spent quite some time working in the industry already. So I've been in games, I guess, somewhere between 15 and 20 years now. Worked at a lot of bigger studios. The last one I was at before starting Ever Curious was Microsoft, and I think at some point some of the magic kind of got drained away for me at least, which was around just having that small team of people together that are all really engaged and really want to make something, believe in a project, are kind of feel like a team. And as you get massive teams, I found that you kind of lost some of that, and it also kind of ends up, I think, watering down the projects creatively a little bit. In for some of the same reasons that you've already mentioned, Guillaume. And of course, like you said, like we're apparently brain twins, so it's not surprising. But a lot of the reasons that I started the studio were for similar reasons to what Guillaume was talking about. So like I wanted to make games like he's talking about, games that I thought were more mature, both from like a gameplay standpoint, but also from the world, the themes, that kind of thing. And so that was a part of it. I also really, I mean, to me, like games, all media, all like I love film, I love books, I love theater, whatever. And I think no matter what you're looking at, there's two parts to what I like when I'm playing games or watching movies or anything like that. And one is something that is just purely entertaining, but I also want it to have something that makes it feel like a valuable experience, something that sticks with me after I've kind of finished. And so that's something that's hard to find in the sort of bigger studios. I find something where you really believe there's interesting themes or something meaty behind the game that people could really get engaged with and that kind of stuff. And that's what I really love to do. And so when we started Ever Curious, that's kind of our goal, is to make games that are systemically and from a gameplay standpoint really deep, narratively and from a world building standpoint have really interesting, weird, imaginative narratives, but then also have some kind of interesting thematic depth. And we really like to try to tie themes and gameplay and narrative all together. So we really like finding ways to try to intertwine all of these things. Um, and so like when I very first started, my co-founder and I, like, we started it partly because he's a narrative guy, I'm a gameplay guy, and we both really love trying to tie thematics into both of those things and tying those things together. And so we'd been talking about that for years, and then we decided to finally try to make a studio to be able to do it properly without kind of all of the baggage that comes when you're doing that at a, I guess, well established studio. So starting something new.
And so far,
So
it's
that
been
was what.
very easy, right?
Oh, it's easy. Yeah, it's nothing. It's so simple. Yeah. Yeah. Who knew starting up a game studio is such a
I
so
think
hard.
I think we both did. I think we both did now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. That's what this is for. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's basically where we started. Yeah, and then obviously from there we've kind of grown the team, and I think we were putting together a team that all kind of really is able to kind of push those things, is able to find ways to express the thematics, is really engaged with the game, that kind of stuff. So it's finally bringing back, like, I started as a modder when I was like 14 years old or something. So like I started out of a place of just really loving making games, and so um, it kind of brought back some of that for me, just having a small team where people are engaged and just excited about the game and the project and that kind of stuff, and working together. So yeah,
I got
it's
two comments. So there's someone Vilo 1984 saying, "Hey Mitch, long time ago at Gamescom 2014. Nice to see you here from your new studio. Best regards, Daniel." I don't know if you know which Daniel he is saying hi, but you got someone
oh
who's replacing you, and there's uh, Joe Benji who's asking, what was the original concept or theme that led to the development of Witherbloom? And I think I'm sorry to cut you, but I think it's going to be a nice segue because it's a really interesting story. I think.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know which Daniel that is. And hello, um, man, that's crazy. From 2014, that was actually a fun Gamescom too. That was way back in my Relic days. So yeah, Witherbloom. Um, where Witherbloom came from, I mean, it is an interesting and weird story. So I can, I mean, you can jump in as you kind of want here, but like it really started, like you said, like I pitched like our other project to you way back at Gamescom, and it was obviously a little bit outside of the scope of what made sense for Nine Dots at the time. And I think this is also something that's just interesting to know because you were talking about like publishing and why you guys are publishing, and I think it's it's an interesting thing because obviously you liked the project but it didn't fit, and you kind of came to us after that and asked us to like if we would be interested in pitching something else that could fit with you. You also offered to let us use your technology from Outward to be able to do it, that kind of stuff, which obviously, so A, I'm bringing that up because that shaped the creative vision a little bit, but also that's just from like for anybody who doesn't know the business side of games, that's not something that really happens a lot. That kind of, I guess, early support from a publisher. So it's something like at EverCurious we're super grateful for because it gave us a really great place to start, and it means that we actually really have like from the start a really supportive publisher that also happens to believe and want to do a lot of the same things that we do, which is unusual and very cool. Um,
That's us. We're very cool.
just very
There's
cool.
a lot of people warning us that we have to drink in moderation. Acknowledged as I sip a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry, I'm very well practiced. I've
I
trained for this
don't
my
drink with
whole life.
moderation. I drink with experience.
Exactly. Um, so yeah, basically the starting point, as opposed to almost every game that a publisher would be publishing, where they're either looking for people to give them a proposal for a specific project, so they're doing requests for proposals, or you're bringing something to them that's already half made and getting them to publish that. This was actually kind of a bit of a more of a collaboration from early on. So we were starting with the idea we wanted to build something that fit with the pillars that you just went over, which was pretty easy because all of those pillars just happen to fit exactly with what EverCurious likes. Um, and so that made it an easy starting point. And then we were using kind of looking at the technology in Outward and seeing where we could kind of transform that into a new game. And there's a lot of discussions early on, like you and I talking about that back and forth back then. We went through a bunch of pitches, and Witherbloom was one of those, or the seeds of Witherbloom were one of those. And then from there, we kind of knew that we wanted to make something that had some of the survival elements of Outward, but really focused on the idea of dungeon crawling and also focused a little bit on the idea of a sort of hub that you can build. So that was like the core of that part. And then yep.
So I think we can say, in a very strange fashion, Witherbloom is it's a mod. It's an outward mod, but an extremely complicated
Yeah.
and complete total conversion mod. of Outward essentially, or rather, it started like this, and then we did the
Yep.
engine switch, and we suffered, but uh, here we are. And since your
Yep.
team was way more enamored with Unreal than with Unity, I guess for you it was good news. But yeah, that's how it gets started, I guess. Is hey, please make a mod of
Yep.
Outward and make a cool game out of it.
Yeah. Basic. Yeah. Really, it is, which is kind of cool because it also full circle for me, way back to my early mod days, because that's what I started with, was doing total conversions. So yeah, it really did start as that. Yeah, and then yeah, obviously with the engine change, then we both had to kind of hit a bit of a reset button and all of that. But I think that
Oh,
DNA still exists
there's a
in
really important
Witherbloom.
question now. Will Witherbloom have trogs, the troglodytes from Outward? I 100% am agreeing with this and asking you if you can put in some troglodytes in there. I'd love that. Please do. We'll give you all the models and everything. I'm sure they can fit in one of their
Yeah,
3 dungeons.
yeah. I mean that kind of thing is always. I think that'd be a cool little homage Easter egg type thing to have in there for sure.
There's been troglodytes in like all of our games except God Factory because spaceships and troglodytes don't really mesh that well together.
Space troglodytes, why not? That's sort of like I mean, Stargate SG-1, they had the not troglodytes, Cro-Magnon.
All right, so now I would like to open up some of the concept arts that I got, and just as a disclaimer, we're gonna show you a little bit of more of Witherbloom. But first, I would like to talk about the lore because I think it's one thing where you really do stand out. Um, so give me a moment. I need to shift things around. Won't be too long because once again, this is a fairly complex setup. Just you wait. Okay. Oh, look, you don't want to see what my 2 monitors look like right now. I got like 20 different windows open. Um, okay, so I want your face, not my face. There we go. And now I need to zoom in. Give me a moment. I can't open up more than that. I want to zoom in. No. I guess that's gonna be. Oh, I know what's going on. Anyway, it's gonna be like that. Okay. So I don't know if you can watch the stream right now. Okay, so we've got this first concept art, just doing a character studies of like what is the style of the characters in Witherbloom, and they're really fucking fantastic. I have to say, um, and obviously we've seen the second one, like it's on the core banner, and we've seen it in the trailer, but there's a bunch of really cool armors that are coming to the game. Uh, would you like to explain a bit more of like why are they dressed like that? What's inspiration? Like, what were you tapping into to get the sense of what it would look like? What have you tried to stray away from? Because it's very unique. It's very unique. It's gonna like one of the signature Witherbloom. I think will be the character designs. Yep. Oh, they saw they say we've lost sound for you. That's not good. I can hear you because we're on Discord. Um, I I got it. I know.
So it's
I know how to fix. Give me a moment. I'm just gonna copy. I got some comments saying your connection is difficult. Also that you're breaking.
oh
Um,
no.
try and leave the call and come back and see if it gets better.
Yeah, it might be a good idea.
Yeah.
I will as well.
Oh, they're saying it's fine now. Never mind. Don't
Oh,
leave.
okay.
Don't leave. We, okay. Give me a moment.
I'm
I
not
just
touching
need to.
anything. Are we
Okay.
good?
Well, right now we can only see you, which is not good. But I I'm
It's
good.
never good to only
I'm
be
the
able to see
IT
me.
now. We won't be able to hear you for like a few seconds. Okay, can you talk now and see if it works?
Yep.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm
Is
so
it
good. I figured it out. There we
okay?
go.
Good. Are we a bit better then?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. I mean, I'm shocked that it's actually worked so far because it is an interesting problem streaming from so many places at once. Um, cool. So yeah, I was just saying, I'll just give a quick, like, very quick elevator pitch on Witherbloom because somebody had asked, and it will help give context on the art that we're showing. So yeah, Witherbloom is a third-person action role-playing game survival dungeon crawler, which is obviously a big mouthful. The main idea is that it's set in a world where it was basically a utopia, where there was this pantheon of gods. They provided for everything that humanity wanted. They were entirely benevolent, making sure that all needs were met. But despite this, humanity withered away. Eventually, the gods just one day they up and left, and with their leaving, they kind of left the world and plunged into chaos, basically. So the world that you're coming into is far after the gods have left. The world has been in this sort of chaotic, anarchic state without this pantheon of gods anymore. And now, as you're coming into that, what you're doing is basically delving into the realms that these gods used to rule from, scavenging for resource, finding other survivors, bringing those survivors back to this sort of small camp, this safety that you've kind of found within this withering kind of wilderness, using that as sort of your hub so that you can dig deeper and deeper into the gods' sort of forgotten and abandoned realms, find more and more stuff, bring that back and kind of build it out and sort of try to rekindle a community and society ultimately. So that's sort of the core idea with Witherbloom is basically that you are digging into the abandoned realms of kind of these gods that left you and your people behind and trying to restart a civilization almost. Does that make sense, hopefully?
It does, but what about the characters, Mitch?
Yes, so now the characters. So these guys are obviously all characters. This is like player character armor. So these aren't like enemies or anything. And when we're looking at the world, so there's like quite a bit of thematic sort of backing that sits behind that world, and there's also quite a bit of history and lore that sits behind it. So the first thing to say is that the first step to having these characters is that we have some really amazing artists on our team that managed to bring in a lot of interesting references. Our art director Naeem, he comes from a film background as well, does costume design, so he's extremely good at this stuff. Um, and basically our process was to try to look at that backstory and then try to figure out how we can kind of make a world that sort of feels unique for it. So we didn't want it to just be a normal fantasy setting. It doesn't really fit with what we're doing. Um, and some of the stuff that we started looking into were things like some more golden age of sci-fi and that kind of stuff from like the 70s, early 80s, where there was like this interesting mixture between sci-fi and fantasy. So like that's back when, you'd get a guy riding a horse with like a laser sword and like all kinds of, is it tech, is it magic, that kind of stuff. And so that was a part of it. We also kind of wanted to look for some like other cultural references. So it kind of comes from all over the place. Like the game is not set on Earth, so there's no single culture. But
Mm.
we were trying to pull from some different cultures than you'd normally get for some of the references, so that it's not just all like medieval knights, which is
It's interesting because
most.
you said like it's not the Earth, but a comment that I saw a few times, people seem to really agree with that. It looks and sounds like Space Mad Max,
I
which is
love that.
it's a good way to kind of compress the idea of the aesthetic. So I really like that. And
Yeah,
before we keep going, there was a very good question. Are there going to be classes? And that question would have been it could have had a very boring answer, but I like the structure you're shooting for. So you go ahead and kind of spill the beans on how that works. I think it's gonna be inspiring for a lot of players.
I sure hope so. Yeah, I know it's something that I know that you and I have talked about and are both quite excited about. So yeah, we have classes. We're like a class-based ARPG, but the idea is that we really want to make sure that we are a survival ARPG, and so we have survival classes and combat classes. And when you create a character, you basically mix a survival class and a combat class together. So your character class is a combination of both of those things. Um, so right now in the sort of builds, we have four of each. So that means there's basically like 16 class combos that you can do just from mixing those things. And the survival classes obviously focus very much on the survival side of things and the combat on the combat, but we also want them to mix together in interesting ways so that there's a lot of different sort of ways that you can kind of customize your play style based on mixing your survival gameplay elements with your combat gameplay elements. And that just comes from mixing these two
I
classes
just really
together.
like the
And
idea that somebody who's got like I'm gonna oversimplify it, but like if you play the mage class and you mix it with the cooking class, it's not the same as you take the mage class and mix it with the scouting class, right? And I feel those kind of combos will make it real interesting where the perfect group will probably not have too many holes. So you need a cook, you need a scout, you need a blacksmith. Once again, I'm oversimplifying it. I know it's not exactly what the classes are, but like the combination of what they're going to be playing with might differ. So of course you don't want to have four scouts. Like that's probably dumb. But at the same time you don't want to have four semioticians at the same time. So it's gonna be weird to see like how will the players compose their groups and how they'll gonna try and kind of just because they want to play with their friends, but their friends already got a character, and so what is gonna be the weakness of your group just because when you're playing Team Fortress and everybody want to be a spy and nobody wants to be the medic, well, shit, your group is gonna suck. So you're gonna make it work somehow.
yeah, yeah, totally. And that's also like, I mean, so the hope is obviously, yeah, there's like a lot of ways to cooperate if you're playing in multiplayer where you can really plan out like what is your class combos and how are you filling these different gaps, and there's different ways to fill them so that like in that you don't need necessarily a medic. You might be able to fill that specific sort of role or that need in some other way, maybe by amping up your cook or something so that they can kind of craft better like survival gear that helps to fill that role or something like that. And the other thing that when we're talking about classes, I think this is something that you also really like, Guillaume, but I mean it's basically part of your guys' pillars, but one of the things that I really love in ARPG, not in all RPGs, is when there's classes that don't pigeonhole you. I find a lot of
Yeah.
RPGs tend to
Hmm.
create classes where there's a dominant or a set of dominant strategies, and then what you end up doing if you really want to play the game, you just go and you either just follow the path that's obvious
Oh,
or
you
you
want to be a
see the
thief?
online
That's
meta.
how you play. You want to be a warrior, then you're the tank and nothing else. Yeah, that kind of
It,
pigeonholing is kind of boring. There's another question
yeah.
here. Does the game have an ending, or do you play infinitely?
So like I mean I don't know that there's a perfect answer to that. We're not at the ending of the game yet. We haven't finished it. We want to make sure that it's replayable. So like it's an ARPG dungeon crawler. Those are fun games to replay. You want to be able to build up your character. You want to be able to build up your hub. So there's definitely going to be a lot of replay at the end of the game. So like some end game content for people. But there's also there is like narrative. There is things happening there. So
There
there's
is a
still
story
like
to uncover. Yeah,
sorry, what's that?
there is a story to uncover, and so eventually
Yeah.
you've reached the point where you understand what happened, and so that's kind of the ending. Another question: will there be local co-op?
Uh, that I can't answer yet. I would love to have local co-op. We were originally hoping to when we were building on Outward One's tech. We're in Unreal now, and so it'll be a little bit more of a difficult thing potentially, but it's something that I do want to explore. So we haven't
I'm
looked
just
into
gonna
it yet.
say it's worth it, and it's a bitch to implement.
Yeah, yeah, that's the problem. And like so, like my wife and I play couch co-op games all the time, so it's something that actually I really would love to do because it's how I play a lot of games. But yeah, it seems very difficult. So we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys know that better than most.
And can the game be played in single player as well?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. So yeah, it's single player or multiplayer, so as you kind of wish. Like I said, I play co-op a lot with my wife. When I'm not doing that, I usually am a single player kind of guy. So I like games where you can do a bit of both. So this will definitely have uh, yeah, the ability for you to play how you want,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay, next question. Because so far all we've seen in Witherbloom is one enemy, and I wanted players to understand that this is not like a zombie game. So those who look at the trailer, they saw the Withered. We've got a concept art for them. Um, but I wanted to reassure the players while we've got you that it is not all that we're going to be encountering. And so I'm going to switch to the next concept art here, where we have the crystal beetle. And at the same time, I'm just going to ask you, like, in a shorter answer, what kind of encounters can we expect in the world of Witherbloom?
Yeah, like I mean, I guess one of the core ideas with the encounters in it is that we want there to be some interplay between the dungeons and the enemies in them. So, for instance, the beetle there that you see, it's part of the orchestrator. So those are the gods. The gods were the orchestrators. That's kind of what they're called. So the orchestrator of passion. Within his realm, there are these little crystal beetles that go around, and there's also these strange sort of prismatic light crystals that you can walk past. They'll obviously light your way. They have different kind of effects on gameplay. They'll also sort of supercharge these guys. So in this case, for instance, there's like an interplay between these lights that can turn on and off, that can kind of react to what you're doing, that can also supercharge enemies. And so a lot of what we're looking at is trying to do encounters where there's interplay between the level mechanics and the enemy types, and that sort of applies to the creatures like these guys here, as well as to the withered. So they also have that. That's the humanoid enemies, and I'll also mention that they're not really zombies. They're
Yeah,
sort of
but you know
fallen
what I
humans.
mean. You know what I mean.
Um,
Like
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah,
zombie adjacent.
yeah.
Another question I saw pop a couple of times is how big is your team?
We are
Sorry, by
not
the
very
way,
big.
if I'm cutting you off, but if we want to answer the all the questions, I gotta kind of
Nope,
be
please cut me
rude.
off. You know me. I can tend to ramble sometimes, so it's for the best. Um, our team right now, I want to say we are like 6 or 7 full time, and then maybe 3 or 4 part time people. So we're still quite small. We're not going to be growing that much beyond that. So we're still trying to keep it small and light, also for reasons that you talked about at the start of the stream. But yeah, we're not a very big team. We're a small team, but we also are trying to kind of hit above our or punch above our weight class, I guess.
Sorry if I'm laughing. Mornial, which by the way is a long-term supporter of Nine Dots, and he even made the title screen song for Brand back in the days, said something that is very true. Passionate devs are known to ramble forever. Can't find a fault in that logic.
Can't help it.
Sorry for cutting you off. I just was laughing.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no denying it.
Oh, once again, I'm gonna cut you off because there's an important question that comes from commenters on YouTube. Will there be boss battles in Witherbloom? A question to which I don't even have the answer myself, so I'm curious.
Um, I actually don't know if I have a. So there's going to be boss battles of a sort for sure. We're actually just in the process of doing some sort of re-scoping and budgeting for like basically. So like we just got some extra funding from the government of Canada. I don't know if we want to dig
Yeah, yeah,
into
yeah.
that at all, but
Yeah,
um,
we should say it. Like, this is amazing. The game's budget has been doubled.
yeah,
So that's pretty fucking cool. But at the same time, it means that it might take longer before the game comes out, but it's gonna come out even better, hopefully, or else it's a huge waste of money.
yeah, I think it'll definitely come out, I think, better. And then because of that, it also reopens some discussions on exactly how we want to handle things like boss battles. Um, but the structure of the game is that there are each dungeon is a floor of one of the orchestrator's sort of realms, and at the end of each floor, there's different ways to end each floor. But at the end of each floor, there's going to be some kind of larger event. Sometimes that could be a boss battle. Sometimes that could be other sort of more bespoke encounter types that are kind of exciting, kind of equivalents to boss battles. So yeah, we'll have something there. We're just still kind of refiguring out what it means now because yeah, having a little bit more budget changes how we want to think about it.
Okay, so we've got like more and more people asking, so when are we going to see gameplay? When will we have a gameplay trailer? Um, Fuck that, right? We're just gonna jump in engine, and why don't you show off the game, like where we're at? And by the way, guys, this is gonna suck and be great at the same time because it's a work in progress. There, like, it might crash in your face, but let's just do it. Like, I'm gonna put you in full screen, Mitch. Share your screen with me with the engine once it's running, and let's show them that new ingenuity level that you had because it looks way too good. And let's just have fun with it.
Cool. Yeah. Um, I'm just loading it up now. I will let everybody know this is very much uh, flying by the seat of our pants. So I'll be
Yes,
just
very
streaming
much.
from Unreal. And expect a lot of things to break. Like I literally just got updates on this level, like I think about 15 minutes before the stream started.
Oh, that's
So
not smart. That's really not smart, Mitch.
no, but such is.
I vote with don't do that.
Let's see.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's go.
we'll see. Hopefully everything will go well. Yeah, I'm obviously sorry you're going to see some debugging and stuff because we don't want to play through the whole game. So I'm just jumping into the middle here. Uh, So yeah, the level that we're loading into, this is Ingenuity. So that's one of the other orchestrators, the orchestrator of Ingenuity. His realm was basically like a giant world machine that met all of the needs of the people of the world. So like whatever your wants or needs were from like a practical standpoint, he was there to kind of meet that. And so this is kind of in the hollowed out husk of this giant sort of world machine, which has now kind of become overgrown with this strange looking stuff. So yeah, can take a look around it. I'll try to find some guys here to fight. So yeah, expect there to be some serious bugs also in combat. Everything here is work in progress, but like Guillaume said, we want to be transparent. So you're getting a very early look.
Yeah, we don't normally see studios of our size like opening the kimono like this and just showing stuff when it's super broken.
No, and I'll say it's terrifying, and it goes against like 18 years of game development background. So
Yeah, I'm sure you're like finding this extremely weird. There's a question that I
oh, yeah.
like. Who is the composer?
The composer is so a guy called Jim Bonney, who is absolutely fantastic. So you might have heard his work in BioShock Infinite, for instance. He also did some work on Mortal Kombat. So he was the music and audio director on BioShock Infinite. He's worked on a ton of other stuff, and is a very, very cool guy that's really excited about making some kind of weird music to fit the weird world. We like esoteric and surreal stuff, so we're trying to bring a little bit of that in. Unfortunately, I think I broke the music in this level, and our audio guy hasn't had time to dig into it, so you're not going to hear much of it. But
Yeah, right now it's
just
just
imagine
ambience.
amazing music.
No, we don't need to imagine there's music. We need to imagine there's extremely good music.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, my editorial control will be like, nope, crank it up.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think okay. So can also get into some combat here. Again, this is all kind of work in progress, including combat. So this is one of the withered. One thing to note is all of our sort of weapons in combat, we want all of them to have unique move sets. So right now I'm using the sword. The way that it works is that each weapon has two move sets, so a primary and a secondary. So with the sword, for instance, we have like our light attack combo, and then a heavy attack combo. And you can also mix those two together. So you can kind of chain between the two and that kind of thing. Just take care of this guy. We're also doing some like, I think you liked this, Guillaume, so I can talk a little bit about it too. Just give myself a little cheat dagger. So what we're also doing, and I've seen some people asking about it in our Discord as well. So we do have dual wielding. In this case, with a dagger, the way that we're handling dual wielding is that if you dual wield with a single-handed weapon and an offhand, the offhand weapon will replace your secondary attack. So now instead of having my heavy attack with the sword, I have a much quicker dagger attack. So it kind of is a way of trying to let you really find your play style by mixing and matching weapons potentially, or kind of however you want to go. So I'll try the next little bit with a combo of the two. Uh, I'll also probably be slightly more silent so I don't die.
By the way, don't worry. If you die, we won't see it because it's kind of choppy right now. So
Oh no!
you can always blame the lag, even if it's the internet connection that is lagging. But we won't know about that, right? Okay, what
Yeah,
was that?
exactly.
What was that thing you just did?
That's actually kind of annoying because I gotta say it was laggy for me like yesterday, and I guess our artist managed to do some good good optimization, and it's running like butter right now.
Yeah, we can't
Un-
tell
un-
from the stream.
well, hopefully it at least looks good still.
I think it does.
Cool.
You did a spell. Like, what does that spell do?
That is a mark target spell. So basically, that target now, I don't know, takes. Oh,
We knew it was coming. We knew it. Oh, we lost the sound as well. We can't hear you, Mitch. Because of course. Uh, well, I'm just gonna switch to my face until he comes back. Anytime now. We knew he had problem with his headset as well. Uh, that looks like it got some serious potential. I agree. The team at Ever Curious is very talented. They've got like, I think they're in the right mindset. We are definitely taking a lot of risks, honestly, but if there's one team who can manage them, yeah, we can hear you now. Okay. Um, yes, I'm gonna bring you back. Boom. You are back.
well,
So I don't know if we need to show more stuff. I know it's still in progress, but people have seen at least what it looks like in engine, what you're working on right now. They got an idea of the production value um, for the levels. They've seen the move set. They understand a bit more about the mechanics. Um, I'm just gonna look like if people have maybe three more questions to ask about Witherbloom, and as I wait for those questions to come in, I'm just gonna say if you guys are interested, one thing that helps us understand whether or not we're in the right direction is just seeing the wish list numbers go up. So if what you saw is looking good, talk about it with your friends. Please wish list it on Steam. We're tracking and we're trying to see at the same time, is this stream worth doing? Because it, there's the 2 hours we're gonna spend talking with you all, but there's a lot of preparation that came before that, so we need to know if it's worth it. If we see some good uh, adoption metrics, then we'll keep doing it.
yeah.
Uh,
Also, great to let us know in Discord what you think.
yes, yeah, join the Discord server. That's even better than wishlisting, honestly, because then we can more actively access to you guys, ask you for your opinions and things like that. Um, will there be crafting? A lot of it. I can already answer that question.
Yeah,
Uh, will
I
the
can
com?
actually.
Sorry.
I was going to say actually, we really it's a game that's heavily about crafting. Um,
Yeah.
so we really want it to be a core part of the game. Is you're not just building your character through skill trees and stuff. You're really crafting your equipment. That's what you're doing. You're not just finding cool loot. You're really going to have to build your equipment. You're going to have to build your hub. You're going to have to build your character. So it's a very core part of the game.
Will the combat be mostly one versus one and one versus two, or will enemies be in large groups, which could be a differentiation factor compared to Outward?
Both. It'll just depend on the enemy type. So, for instance, like the little beetle guys that you saw the concept art for, those would swarm much more. So you're not just going to fight one or two of those. You'll fight like a little swarm of them. Whereas, like the creature that you didn't see in that level, that's a much bigger creature. So you'll not be fighting like a horde of those all at once. So it'll be a bit of both, just depending on the creature types.
Um, will the game have some kind of new game plus?
Yes, I sure hope so. We have some kind of cool ideas that we've been toying around with how we want to handle that, but we haven't actually got to the point in development where we can test out any of them. But yeah, we definitely want to have some interesting ways to be able to replay, restart, kind of like use some of your past progress and bring it forward. And that's also because you also progress the world with you as well as your sort of character, so like your hub and stuff. So using that as a part of that as well. So there'll be some ways to yeah carry your progression over, and carry it between characters and that kind of thing.
Is there what's going to be the ratio like for crafting versus vendor buying versus loot?
Um, So you're going to be finding a lot of loot that you're going to be using to craft a lot of things. You will find very few things at vendors or at like just raw pieces of loot that you're not just going to pick up, I don't know, a withered tattered rags and start wearing it as armor. You need to find scraps and bring them to your hub. You'll find the characters that you can find throughout the world, they're all craftsmen, and they'll all be able to kind of progress their crafting abilities and help you build better and better stuff. I can just give one of my pet peeves in a lot of games that do multiple of these things is that inevitably one system takes the forefront and completely overrides the others. So like you see that in like something like say Diablo, like there's almost no point in ever crafting equipment because if you could craft as good of equipment as what you can find in the world, then it would totally devalue what you find in the world. So we don't want to do that. We really want to be a game about crafting. So you're not going to be finding a lot of just random swords laying around that are super powerful. You're going to have to make those yourself.
So the point is like when you wield a weapon, you're like, I did this.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And you worked for it.
this is gonna be the last question, and then if people have more questions, we invite them to join the Discord server to kind of swarm you with questions, stopping you from working on the game because you're going to be gathering to super cool players. Um, is there a lot of levels, or is it a couple really important levels? I think breaking down that structure is really interesting. So you go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a pretty important part of the game actually. So there's uh there's three main level sets, let's say. So there's three core orchestrators, three core gods. The orchestrator of passion, the orchestrator of ingenuity, and the orchestrator of harmony. So they're basically like the pantheon of gods. They each ruled from their own place, and so the domains that they ruled from, their sort of abandoned realms, are where each of the levels take place. So there's those three types, and then within each of those, we're aiming to have 50 or 5 floors, so like 15 floors total. So basically, there's quite a few levels. Each level is important. They're quite chunky. We also want them to be replayable, so we don't want you to just go through a level and never see it again. Like learning the levels, exploring them. We want to have a little bit of that Metroidvania style thing in there where it's actually worth revisiting and trying out new things, using your new skills, using your new equipment in the old levels to kind of get deeper, farther, find more secrets, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's basically the three main biomes, each of which gets broken down into 5 sort of floors, and then each of those floors you kind of dig deeper and deeper into. I hope that makes sense.
Yep, I think it does. I guess we could say it's a bit Metroidvania-like in the sense that the levels are expansive and the knowledge of where things are and how your different abilities kind of help you progress further will kind of give you a sense of progression just through navigation of the maps.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Mitch. Once again, like we could stay there forever and answer all the questions, but then we would have nothing left for marketing beats. So we're just gonna try and find out what are the questions we can answer. There's one question that was asked that we are not ready to answer yet, which is what can we expect for consoles? Right now, we know for sure it's gonna go on PC. We're talking with first parties. As a new publisher, we need to get our relationships started with the console, uh, the companies behind the consoles, so Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft. So we are talking discussions with them, and we're gonna see the the simple truth is if one of those companies say, "Hey, we're gonna give you $20 million. We want your game to be exclusive," we're gonna say yes because we like money to at least to that degree, and because it would de-risk the project. So we don't want to make empty promises right away on, oh yeah, we're gonna go on every platform and then not. So we're looking at the business opportunity. We're looking at the relationship with the first parties. It's not a simple question, even though for the consumer it's very simple. Can I buy it or not? And I understand why it's so important. But for us, we really need to measure things out. And the truth is, like nowadays, 70% of premium games are on PC and 30% on consoles, and supporting consoles is extremely costly and difficult. So we just need to make sure that if we go on those consoles that we're going to sell there, or else we're just not making money, and we need money to feed our families.
And to continue making games.
Yes, please.
No,
All right. Thank you very much, Mitch, once again.
thank you.
And now we're going to move on and talk about the next games. But once again, if people want direct access to you, they can join the Witherbloom server. I think that you've also joined the Nine Dots server,
Yeah,
so maybe you will see some questions popping here and there.
cool. Yeah, I'll try to watch both. Cool. Thanks. It was great. It was a lot of fun. So see you,
All right.
everybody.
See ya. Okay. Back to me. I get some comments about all the nine dots popping. A lot of people are talking to me, as you can hear. That's my day, all the time. Those are the notifications I keep hearing, which kind of can be annoying sometimes. But yeah, I'm just gonna shut down Discord because I'm not gonna need it more a lot for the rest of the stream normally. Quit Discord. There we go. So you won't be hearing that again. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about Lost in Prayer. I don't have much to show about Lost in Prayer today. Um, I wanted to give you a little bit of an update before I move on to Outward 2. Um, we did a playtest, and there are two very contradicting notions about how to receive Lost in Prayer. We've got people who got into the game so much that within 2 weeks they exploded their hour counts. We've got some people who had more than 100 hours of playtime, and that's fantastic. It shows that once you get it and you dig deep, um, there's just a lot to do. There's a lot to explore, and mastery doesn't come off like instantly. It has the depth that we were looking for. Is the turtle balance? It will be eventually. But somebody said it's so tough at the start. That's true, and that's a balancing problem. But more than that, the other notion is from the people who said they would play the playtest, we didn't have that great of a conversion. So when we showed the game, it's the game that had the least traction. So we've done our big stream initially, and we announced all three of our games at the same time. Lost in Prayer just converted less. And don't worry, I'm not saying we're canceling the game. That's not it. But then we did the playtest, and we had a number of people who signaled that they would play the playtest. And honestly, it's a small proportion of those who said would do it who did. And among those who did, there was a rather stark bouncing back. Mostly, I think, because of the yeah, traditional roguelikes are a tough sell. I know. I knew that, but it's even tougher than I thought. Um, and that's why it's going to be a roguelite. No, not true. I'm kidding. Um, but we we took a hard look at why is it that it converts so little, and then from the people who did manifest an interest, there's a bunch of people who bounced it, probably because it was too hard, but also maybe the game didn't do enough. Um, I arrived late. What happened with Witherbloom? So sorry, just got there at the last, just before we ended. Um, so we looked at Lost in Prayer, and we made a rather bold decision. Honestly, in the business world of games, the vast majority of studios now would have decided to cancel the game because we've had a hard time making the game resonate with players. At the same time, myself, I'm a huge roguelike fan, and I'm talking traditional roguelikes, those that are usually very ugly and very difficult to sell and that are just so goddamn fucking deep, right? I want to, I really want that game to exist. But in the current shape, it was not working. So, but when we look at the roguelikes that do end up selling, none of them had an explosive start. They slowly ramp up with their community. So we decided to change the strategy and do something very risky. We are taking a big chunk of the marketing budget we had and we are adding it into production. We are canceling the second playtest because we're going to do transformative changes. All the qualities that the Lost in Prayer game that you saw will be there, but we're just going to add a lot more. We're going to add way more story, way more lore. We're going to make gear way more interesting. We're going to add many features that were not seen in the base game that we had at playtest. We want to get it to the point where instead of canceling it, we're doubling down on the vision, making it more ambitious. Um, and we're going to have a lower budget, but a higher chance to get lucky because we want to make it so fucking good that players won't ignore it and that we're going to feed word of mouth and maybe have the kind of progression chart that we see from the very good roguelikes like Caves of Qud, like Tales of Magia, and like these games took forever to make, but they got to that point where you can't ignore those games if you like that style. Like anyone who played traditional roguelikes, they've tried those games. We want to be one of those. So we're doing that. Instead of canceling, we're doubling down. We're making it more ambitious. We're taking more risks because if we keep doing what we're doing, we're gonna fail. And I'm not gonna cancel because that's not respectful of the incredible talent and effort that was poured into that project. I'm a game developer first and foremost, and I'm gonna make my decision respecting the game developers, respecting that this is a funny art form, and you don't just cancel art. You fucking do it when you decided to do it. So yeah, we're going balls to the wall. And it might fail, but the project we'll have at the end will be something we'll be proud of. And if it fails, it fails, and it will be my decision. It will be that I sucked at the business of it, but it won't be because of the game developers, and we will give them everything to have a shot at making it work. So that's my news for Lost in Prayer. Um, and now, how about some Outward 2 stuff? Before I go and show you gameplay, Uh, I'm gonna see the comment. People are happy now that we're talking about. Of course, they're happy about the outward stuff. Let's go. Before I show you gameplay, I wanted to talk about how that game is made. Um, no more change about more info about the changes in Lost in Prayer. Uh, no, we're gonna unveil that later down the line. Here we go. How do we make stuff in a game like Outward? First, we have to decide from an intention. There was a town Tremontaine that you saw in on the map of Outward One, and we decided to do that town in the Gildan Mountains. We had already announced that region, and I want just to show you how things evolve from there. So we've got Tremontaine. First, we start with a mood board, and that is the easiest part. Just find out elements to kind of set the pace, set the inspiration, get an idea of where we're shooting for. And then you make a concept art to kind of assemble all that those ideas in a way that is a bit more concrete. So this concept art is really just painted over the geometry to kind of give a sense of what the town would look like. You've seen that city in the trailer, and once we do have a concept art, then we start making more concrete details. Like this is almost architectural plans. And by the way, our concept artist Max has a background in engineering, which is extremely useful to make things that are plausible in their architecture as well. And then you start making the 3D assets. and you try to realize the vision, and we will assemble those elements after. Good work, Max. I agree. Good work, Max. So it's really a step-by-step ideation process, like conception, then making it more and more concrete. And people don't realize, like, it's not just like you press a button to create a building, right? You need to know what you're doing and why, and then start to envision it in a way that is way more precise than just a core idea. And then you have to start realizing the models, and then you have to assemble all those models together. And and even then, it's not that simple. So I'm just gonna zoom in here. Once you do have the concept, like we need a map for how to make the actual level that will give you an idea of this is the quarry, which is the level you saw in the demo that we spread around to a few YouTuber and which was available at PAX as well. Once you have the map, then you create the white box, which is very simplistic, very basic shapes to just get an idea of how to navigate. That's where you kind of get a sense of what's going to be the scale like. How long does it take to traverse? Do you get lost in there? And then you do the gray box, where you start adding more details, but there's no texture, there's no dressing. So it's like the shape, but a bit more detailed. You get a very good idea. And then this is how it looks when it's fully fleshed out and you've got like lighting and texture and just a rendering pipeline overall. So it's a very complex step-by-step process. And that's a level, but then we've got like the props themselves. It's not just so this is the Gilded Mountain, but then like every tree has been like, well, not necessarily every tree, but a good proportion of the trees have been designed to get a sense of like what we're gonna do and why. And then there are those props, but there's also, and this is some of the new stuff that I really wanted to show. Give me a moment. I got too many things open at the same time and getting confused. Okay, so and then we've got the creatures, and this is one of the new one, and it's very Canadian. It's a torch moose. We've never shown the torch moose before. Um, And so first we get like a bunch of proposals. Once again, this is also Maxim's work. And so we needed a torch moose. We wanted to hunt a moose as one of the ideas of what it's like to be in the winter region, essentially the winter mountainous region. So we had those different ideas. We decided to take number two. And then like this is not all. This is only what we call a thumbnail. It's not detailed. Doesn't. It's not a final idea. It's the direction of an idea. Can I pet that dog? um, I don't remember if there's a mule that is a torch moose. I think there is essentially a pet torch moose that can be a pack mule. Um, so we chose number two, and this is the actual concept art. Oh, I need to hide my face. I'm so far from being as cute as that thing. Here's a little calf. Uh, that thing is fucking cool. That thing is amazing. And one of the core ideas in the concept of Outward is that the world is disgustingly hostile, and even prey has to be able to defend itself in that hostile world. So a moose is a herbivore, but it has to be able to survive. The same way that the deer in the Enmerkov forest, close to Berg, was a real asshole. Well, the torch moose is going to be an asshole as well. So this is the equivalent of the deer on crack and on fire that's going to be in the Gildan Mountain. And then we've got the more detailed side view, front view to help the character artists make the final version of it. But wait, there's more. If you hunt a torch moose, is it only for the meat or is it also for materials to craft an armor? And this is the armor made from the materials you get from hunting a torch moose. I'm gonna hide my face again. And once again, we gotta choose like what version of that do we pick? And they look fucking badass. And we needed something that gives a good sense of how do we survive in the cold and have something that is battle ready and cold ready at the same time. People are like five, 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 five. We went with four. There's multiple reasons, but we mixed some elements. Like we don't necessarily pick just one idea. Sometimes we're like, okay, we're gonna take the shoulders from that one, the helmet from that one, but here's the concept art. So I'm sure that once that you see this, there's no regrets, right? Um, and once again, like think of it this way: in Outward, we've got creatures, we've got the trees, we've got the towns, we've got the buildings, we've got the armors, we've got every enemy. It's a lot of granular elements that have to be taken into consideration. And that's why it's taking time to do all of that. And we don't want to go crazy with the details. I know that it sounds like, oh no, you should be passionate, but every detail costs more money. And at Nine Dots, we are focusing on what is the best use of our resources. And we're already doing such a massive step up from Outward One, but we're not trying to be like those massive AAA games where you can zoom in at 800% and still see like details in the button of the shirt or stuff like that. We're trying to find the appropriate amount of details. We're still trying to figure that out. So there you go. That's an idea, a good conception of like all the single detail that you see, how much work, how many different steps are involved to do that. But I'm sure you're tired of seeing just images, or maybe not. But I'm sure that you'd be even more excited if we could look at the build we have for the game. And here we go. I need to launch it. Wait, where's my build? Mm, give me a moment. It's right here, right here. Oh, I forgot. I forgot to show an image. Wait a minute. There's something I need to show before. Um, Sorry about that. There's something I needed to show. Yeah. Um, Before I wanted to show something else. Sorry about that. I'm such a tease. You must hate me now. So we made the engine switch a while ago from Unity to Unreal. I just wanted to show you like why we made that change. It's like the before and after, and that's because we needed to get the tech that gave us the lighting, and this is all dynamic lighting going with seasons and day and night and everything. So it's dynamic lighting and the kind of rendering that we needed, and it's so worth it. Like look at this same angle now. It looks flat, it looks gorgeous. It looks flat, it looks gorgeous. And to be clear, it's quite possible to make a very good looking game in Unity. But the type of game we were making, with the type of lighting and rendering and everything, the ambitions that we had, we needed to make that shift. But it took us like that added 6 months of development to the game to do that switch. It was very painful, and we are still not done with those concessions. So once again, part of the reason why it's appreciated from developers when people are patient, and that if we do delays, it's because like sometimes just one big decision can cost you 6 months of development. And to be clear, 6 months of development is about $1 million. And yes, Outward One was successful, but not to the point where we can afford to lose $1 million. But that's it. That's what I wanted to show. And now, boom. Wait, it doesn't work? Aha! There we go. Can you guys hear the sound from the game? There's no game audio. Oh, there's just no music yet. Okay. I think you can hear that. Edging, god damn it. uh, all right. We've got music now. And a bunch of stuff. Oh, sorry, I need my inverted y-axis. That's very important. The legendary trailer outfit. Wait. And that's not what I want. I want that. Torch moose, leather armor. Let's go. Fire stones. Iron dagger. Spear. And a mace. Alright, I'm gonna go. Oh, I'm encumbered. Drop this. I'm gonna drop this. I'm gonna equip this because it's lighter. Okay, I'm gonna show you something cool. Of course we can. By the way, there's a bug right now. The lantern is always lit when it is socketed. So there, we all know that feature of the lantern. But let me show you something way cooler now. Every backpack will have different equipment slots where you can attach things outside of the backpack. So some of them are good at bringing more alchemy ingredients, others are better suited to bring weapons, stuff like that. And so you will just see your stuff, like the things that you prioritize that you want on your, like to have accessible to you all the time. And it frees up the space of your inventory to do that. Someone asking lantern throw. I wonder who you are. Not answering that question. So yeah, this is a really cool feature, and like the different backpacks, the personality will be improved with that. Now, okay, I'm gonna stop being a tease. Let's do it. Let's do it. Now you tell me this is not some absolutely amazing looking armor. Now I'm gonna go. So this is the first, well, yeah, this is the first town that we are showing it about. Outward to Tremontaine. The sense of scale is amazing. Look at those mountains. They go so up high. But I'm sure that we care more about outside. The neck connects. Yes, it does. All right. Welcome to the Gildan Mountain. And look at that snow. As I walk around, it's just tapping, getting less in the way. This is so great. And normally I'm not sure that there are pearl birds in this region planned, but like by respect for our players, we put them there. Let me do a little something. This is the coolest thing ever that you're gonna see. You tell me this is not the coolest thing ever. And by the way, dynamic snow melting and piling when it's snowing. And the music, Jean-François Racine, it's fucking amazing. You have no idea like how to me, when I look at this as a creative actor, like everything just is starting to gel together. We've got badass looking armor, cool tech with like melting snow and dynamic seasons. We've got like that mountain, that thing right there is a dungeon we're gonna be able to get to. Like just like Tyler said, oh, you see that thing? You can go there. Kind of the same. The sense of scale is just so much better than it used to be with Outward One. It just looks fantastic. It sounds fantastic. It plays fantastic. The game feel that we've got right now is just another level. Um, Place the campfire. We don't have it yet, or at least I don't think we do. And yeah, that this is what we're working on. This is Outward 2. Like this is what we are aiming for, and we're still far. Like we don't have the alpha yet, but we're going somewhere for sure. Is there fishing with a harpoon, just like in the first one? Like I don't even want to run. I want to walk, Morrowind style. And the higher you are, the more snow there is. So now here, still have access to grass. Does deep snow impact anything like movement or dodge rolling? We've looked into it on whether or not we wanted to slow down character movement when in snow. I think that for now we decided not to do it, but it's technically not impossible from what I remember. Water current physics, I don't know. I don't know much about water physics. It was just recently added, honestly. Looks like Skyrim with 2K mods installed. Alright, let's go and kill that pearl bird. How do I drop my backpack? I forgot. Is that... There we go. Okay. There we go. Oh, I can't equip it right now. I'm gonna do it with the controls on the... I use a controller, and right now it's mostly the controls on keyboard and mouse that have been figured out and implemented. Is the sight a new weapon type? It's actually a mace. Running attack. Okay, there's a bridge there. I'm gonna show you a familiar friend. The combat looks so smooth. It feels smooth as well. Will Stas be classified as a polearm in Outward 2? Yes, it's still gonna be the same. Can you try a dual pistol? Pistols are not implemented yet, but yes, you will be able to dual wield pistols, if I recall. Did we say we don't do it? No, it's possible. Yeah. What about pets? Well, mules, which are pets with a function. Do you have any really cool weapons created yet? I really like the ancient set, but I don't know the exact command to spawn it in my inventory using the debug menu. So you can see them in some of the videos from like Ratatosker and Click for Gameplay and Sheen Shots. They were able to look into it. And you can see the set of ancient weapons. They look really cool. So, the Wendigo, being super cold, leaves a trail of snow behind him as he walks. And I'm probably gonna die. I'm okay with dying. We all die someday. Oh shit. Ah! That beam is way too fast right now. Oh, I didn't drop my backpack. Come on. Okay. Oh, he's not losing any health. That's... Oh. God damn it. Of course. Any change to defeat scenarios? Yeah, we are making them Like right now, it's not the case, but we're making them way more complex. And well, not complex, more varied than they used to be. And we're adding something that I'm pretty happy with. It's called the wound system. So we're gonna have those very long-lasting negative status effects that impair your playstyle. So some defeat scenarios might give you a concussion, which is really bad for your spell casting. It will literally double your mana costs. You can have a sprained wrist, which means that you can't use one of your two hands, so no two-handed weapons and can't dual wield anymore. You can have a sprained ankle, meaning that you lose movement speed and you can only fat roll and and stuff like that. So extreme changes to your capabilities based on those wounds, and you will need to either use an analgesic to numb the pain, or take the time to heal that wound over time, usually by sleeping but for a more prolonged period of time. So wounds are going to be making death way more impactful, and you probably won't want to throw yourself off a cliff to teleport yourself to town because those wounds are annoying to deal with. I'm just gonna zip past the Wendigo to show you our new friend. Looks like it's gonna be sleep war now because because the song has slowed down. I haven't had a sip of whiskey. Will there be crossplay? Uh, just like there was on the definitive edition for a close window. We'll see. That's a difficult one to deal with. It's kind of hellish to do all the technical requirements that the first parties got with that, and even then you need their permission. And we're not a big studio, so having permission to do it is harder to negotiate. I'm gonna see if I don't want to get him a grow again. Oh, I can't go there. There's an invisible collision. That's not good. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's my backpack there. Is the stability bar going to stay on the side, or is it an open matter for now? It's planned to stay on the side. We haven't had internally any pushback in that regard. Go get that pack, be brave. No, this is Outward. This is not a game that rewards you for being brave. Outward rewards you for being a coward who fears for his life. Now look at my little friend here. This is my first time encountering the Torchmoose, so I don't know if he's gonna be like super hard. Probably. Well. Yeah, he's got like infinite health. Bye. Also, combat music. I cheated. I don't care. So now, right now, he doesn't have his special abilities. Eventually, like, there's gonna be flames coming out of his antlers, and he's gonna leave fire trails behind. And when he's gonna walk in snow, it's gonna be very impressive because he's gonna leave those melted snow trails behind him as he attacks you. Alright. I'm gonna die now. Ow. I have no stamina. Ow. Ow. Bye bye life. Woo! Oh, it's starting to get very choppy in terms of performance as well. I think there's a memory leak or something. Boom. Alright. Oh yeah, there's one last thing I wanted to show. Give me a moment. I need to do something with my settings. Give me a moment. I need to do something magical. Where was it? Where was it? Need to open up like a cheat to open up the gym. Can one of the game developers at Nine Dots send me the um, the debug command to load the gym? I want to show the gym. So if somebody could write it in the chat, it will help me. So, load level. Oh, I'm gonna get attacked by. Oh, god damn it. That's very rude. Okay. Typical outward experience, I know, right? Oh, I'm. Feels like I'm very dark. Is that better? Stupid bird. Purple sounds scary. What the heck? Yeah, the volumes are kind of all over the place right now for the sound effects or the creatures. Okay, I need to find the console command to load the level. Is there? I want the gym. I'm not sure. I'm gonna see if somebody. Um, give me just a little moment. I need to figure that out. All right, so Gilman, I'm asking for some help. I just wanted to show you something just to make everybody super jealous of not being. Huh? Discord they found me. Aha! Low level gym fighting. All right, thank you very much. Yep, thank you, Pierre-Antoine. We told you it would be like. There we go. All right. So we've got. Where are the hats? So I'm not gonna show you too much because it would get into spoiler territory. But like, we've got every type of encounter, each in like as if it was a zoo in there. So a troglodyte here, Nefer here, our Pearlbird friend here, and this is super dumb, but one of our artists made just a bunch of hats super quickly, and I just thought it was like super funny that we can just drop them all and just look at the different looks, colors, variation, just how quickly we can just start doing a bunch of stuff when it's just playing with variations. And I thought I know the meme is getting old, but like how hats is the way to make money. If we started selling all those hats, maybe it would be billionaires or something. The classic cauldron. Arrow through the head. I think there were kitty ears. Yeah, it's probably not gonna make it in the final game, that one. Um, just having some stupid fun. We even have like glasses and eye face accessories. I like the potato sack on the head right here. All those gems. So yeah, but I mostly wanted to make you guys super jealous because we've got this weird ass place where we can see all the type of all the types of monsters in the game so that we can just try out their behavior and test out the fights, drop like any loadouts with the debug system, and then try a bunch of builds and stuff like that. So it's a theory crafter's wet dream, and that's something we can do because we're the devs. Are you guys looking to having beards in the character creation? Yeah, there's gonna be beards there. Big spoiler here, but there's gonna be beards, even mustaches. Uh, Introducing to my friends since the early game can be quite punishing, and the story can feel a bit dull early on. How we try to improve this? So how are we trying to improve onboarding in Outward 2? Honestly, we're not trying to do that all that much. It's one of those situations where the more we try to fix it, the higher the cost to the original vision. And one of the problem with making an RPG that is very challenging is that it's almost the only one in its category. Like usually open world RPGs are just extremely easy. The only exception I can think of is Elden Ring. And so if we start easy, players will get accustomed to the bad reflexes and they will not be able to go past a certain skill threshold to be able to handle the rest of the game. So they need to be tested early on so that they start thinking that they're doing it wrong. But if we make it easy in the start, because they're applying the reflexes to the other that works in the other less challenging RPGs, once they face a harder difficulty, they will bounce back even more harshly than they do when the beginning is harder. So instead, we're just focusing on making the game smoother. Like combat is more responsive and production values are higher. Um, and so the game will just feel like the kind of quality you don't want to leave behind. And so maybe convince people to power through the initial steep learning curve because of the promise of the production value and the quality and the fact that the gameplay is much more smooth now than it used to be. The UX is just improved on, and that's our bet. And honestly, I'm gonna sound super harsh, but we are okay with some players just not liking it because the beginning is too hard. Because not doing it would be um, the word treason is too strong, but it would be deceitful as a sequel to Outward if Outward 2 was all of a sudden like easy to get into. I think I think it is the expectation of the vast majority of hardcore Outward fans that the start has to be extremely hard. Um, yeah, the spirit of Outward is preserved. Yes, it's what we need to do. Uh, did now Nidos look towards any of its modding community for inspiration? Um, mm, Not really. Not because we didn't look into it, but we already had a very good sense of what we wanted to do as improvements, even before those mods started coming out. But we did look at mods of other games as part of the inspiration. Like, how are people modifying their games to make them more niche? And does that apply with our vision? And was there nuggets of gameplay that we could incorporate or reinterpret in our way within the development team, the design team? Friendly fire mod. Oh, I like that. Um, so the problem with friendly fire is that if we do that, we need our networking systems to be even more tight, and that's extremely difficult from a technical perspective. Right now, we're using a bit of shortcuts to make online co-op work, and it's pretty seamless because we are forgiving. But if we have friendly fire, imagine that the both players don't have exactly the same position in their respective game. You could have the impression that you did not hit your friend, but online they did get hit, and that's a problem. And it leads to a lot of frustration. So if we do friendly fire, we have to have an even tighter networking, and if we do that, it's part of the budget that we can't put into other features. So we couldn't. All right. Increase player cap to 256. Yeah, I recommend not doing that. Outward MMO when? I'm just expecting the question now. What year are you all looking for release? I don't want to commit to a year. Um, the earliest is 2026. The latest is probably not that long after that because we can't afford that. Simply, like we have an amount of we have a set amount of money that we can spend, and once we have no money, we're fucked. So 2026 is the earliest, and like 2027, unless something happens, is probably the latest we can go. I hated Outward when I started to play because it was too hard, but I never gave up. That's the attitude. Guillaume the Third will carry the legacy. No, it won't be that long. And don't forget, between then and now, there will be two other games that we'll be releasing. So if you want Outward, support us and get the other titles that we're working on. Then we'll have a lot of the same design qualities that Outward had. Am I too late? I completely forgot about stream. Sorry, Pigas, because yeah, I'm about to end it now. Um, but thanks for coming over. Make a playable beta build ASAP. Yeah, that's gonna take a while. We're not gonna make a playable beta until we've actually have an alpha, and we are aiming for an alpha like beginning of next year. We had to push it back. We were targeting um, before the end of the year for an alpha build, but we had to push it, delay it because of a lot of technical problems with our narrative systems, and we had to do a hard focus on that. And yeah, um, decisions. Outward One was made to be an uncompromised vision achieved by compromising qualities and scope. Outward 2 is meant to be undiluted and with as few compromises as possible, but that means delaying rather than cutting scope, as long as we can afford to. Will it be the same for factions? Nope. None of the factions that we join in the first Outward will be joinable in Outward 2. Um, but they're gonna be part of the lore, but you're joining different groups this time. Like Levant still exists, and they even have a new town, and you can visit that town. But it's not like you're not joining Levant or joining the Blue Chamber or joining the Holy Mission of Elat. Um, is it a new character from scratch, or do you pull over a previous character? It's going to be a new character from scratch. Don't forget, we've announced in the trailer, Outward 2 happens 50 years later. So if you were starting from scratch, well, if you were starting from the same, especially if you played an old dude in the first one, it would make no sense to carry over unless we use a legacy system and stuff like that, which would be cool, but it's just not within the scope. Can you tell us about the story? No, not yet. Will there be more player choice and consequence in the story? Yes, a lot more. Um, I feel like there were already a lot of cool choices to make in the story for the first one, but the story felt a bit disjointed. That's in no small part because it was rushed. We had to rush it to finish it. We had very limited resources. Um, you can expect the story in Outward 2 to be longer, uh, more complex, and have more interesting character development. Not only for your character, but for the faction you're joining and the cast of characters in every faction. Can you have a sneak peek of a boob? No. All right. I could go on and on for the question. Once again, uh, two things before I can't just keep going forever. If you have more question, join the Outward server if you hadn't done it already. We also have the 9 dot server if you have questions like for 9 dots overall and if you want to have all the news. I'm now spending more time on the 9 dot server than on the Outward server. And that's true for like most interaction with devs. It doesn't mean that we're never there, but we had to refocus because, of course, we want to be there for all of our games. And if we had to split our attention span between all three different servers, it would be difficult. So best way to reach out is on the 9 dot server, especially. The exception there is for Witherbloom. The ever curious team is more aware of what's happening on the Witherbloom server than the 9 dot server. Oh wow, it's dark at night. I think it means it's night night. Yeah, the DLC end will be canon. That's true. So the Immaculates are still around. Yes. I don't know what is the monster that we're hearing, but it is very scary. Um, all right. So that's it for what I had to show today. Um, Thank you very much, everyone, for being there, for participating. Will there be lanterns in the game? Yes. Can you throw them? Maybe, maybe not. Will there be things that are interesting about lanterns? Could be. Um, and I'm not going to be doing that kind of stream for a while because I'm going to go on paternity leave in about a month from now. But after that, we're hoping to do the Nine Dots Backstage stream uh, a bit more regularly to keep you posted on what is happening and to be able to answer more of your questions and to like give you a really strong sense. Thank you very much, everyone, for the congratulations, baby DLC. That's right. um, but yeah, I think that the more constant is the conversation we have with you guys, the more understanding we can have. We can understand what it is that you're expecting, and you can understand what we are making and why. And that just feeds the dialogue, not only between us, but also between the players. You guys are kind of, I hate the word because it sounds like we're using you, but you really are our ambassadors. You guys, by having direct access to us and talking with us, when you're talking with other players, you know that you know more stuff than they probably do because of those conversations, right? And so that means that you can set the expectations, you can set the tone of those conversations, and it's helping us. And we really do appreciate it. You guys are like extremely valued at Nine Dots, and I enjoy doing this kind of process, even though it's exhausting, like you have no idea. But I enjoy it still. It's invigorating to be able to talk with you all. And once again, thank you very much, and see you on the next beat.